for this coming summer for $500,000, and please teach, the computer engineers in China. So having your name is just like having your name in TV, which is specialized for computer people, and you will have many new opportunities by having your name. But to have your name in a source code, you have to be really good at programming. You have to compete with other people, and you have to win in a competition of contribution. I don't know how many of you have Android-based cell phones or something like that. Oh, quite large. How many of you have an iPod in here? I mean iPhone. Oh, surprisingly enough, Android dominates in this market in the Kansas, Wichita. But actually, your percentage is the close to worldwide percentage. Android iPhone represent about 75, in some country, 80% of the smartphone market. And Apple has about 20% market share. So this is very similar to Wichita State University. And Android was initially developed by Google based on Linux. And also Android is also open source. So what Android does is, Google does is many companies, many people donate the program, just like in case of Linux. And they segment the donated course based on functions, function A, B, C, D. That. And they pick the best donated program from function A. They pick the best one from E, best one from Z. And that will be included in the next version of Android. So Google does not develop a lot of enhancement code. Practically speaking, most of the code are donated by companies and by people who use Android. This is Linus Tobler, and this is me. He's a bit younger than me. When I met him, I asked him what the differences are between American universities, and he was in Finland, right? So he graduated from Helsinki University. And he said, he kind of thought through for 10 seconds, and he said the major difference is in Finland, all universities are free. And there's no limitation as to how long you can stay there. So Linus Tobler was in the school, university, for 7 years without paying any money at all. And he said that's the major difference between American schools and the Finn universities. Now, you'll be surprised about how Linux is widely used now. At this moment, practically speaking, all embedded applications, consumer electronics, cars, and all of that, are based on Linux. Android, as I said, is based on Linux. Next OS for smartphone will be called Tizen, T-A-I-Z-E-N. That is also based on Linux. This PC office automation, this is the market where Microsoft owns. And there is no way that position will be taken by other corporations, even though Apple is doing pretty good, but their dominance will be there for another 5 years or so. But even Windows-based PC, if the user uses this PC based on internet, then most internet-based servers are Linux. Google, Yahoo, Facebook, Amazon, whatever you use, most likely their servers are running on Linux. Worldwide, I would say, according to the company called Red Hat, 70 to 75% of the internet servers are running on Linux. Robot, again, most of them are developed based on Linux. Mission critical. Stock market is a good example. Tokyo Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, London, all of these, about 80% of the worldwide stock market are running on Linux. Cloud computing, Google, Yahoo, all of them can be classified as a cloud server company. But Amazon has Amazon Web Services, AWS. That is running on Linux. Not only running on Linux, but practically speaking, all of the AWS software platforms are open source software. Supercomputers, in terms of number of units, 94%, 94.5% of the worldwide supercomputers are running on Linux. From performance point of view, more than 97% of the supercomputers in the world are running on Linux, including Chinese supercomputers. If you hit the top 500, you can get all of these stats for supercomputers. And as you know, the technology runs from high to low, just like water. So as I said, in here, Linux is dominant, and that technology flows towards this way. The reason why, I'll explain later. Why Linux became this popular, I'll explain later. So this title is in Japanese, and I intendedly left in Japanese. I will show you animation. And by watching this animation, if you can figure out, let's assume all of us are making Android terminal, right? And by watching this animation, if you can think of the business model where your company can be winner, what do you think you have to do? So to make your company winner in the Android domain, by watching this animation, please let us know what the formula to win in the Android market. So this is the Google Android division. And at this moment, I picked the 4 companies, Sony, Panasonic, Sharp. And they donate code. And they pick up, this is good from Samsung, this is good from Panasonic, this is good from Sharp. And so this is the way it's supposed to work. But in reality, it is like this. So who can tell us what the business model of open source? I mean Android. What the business of Android? What do you have to do to win in the business of Android? Excuse me?
Because Android is based on Linux, so probably we should provide something that's related to Linux. Or?
Very close enough.
Okay.
Thank you. I forgot the penguin dolls today. I forgot to bring you. Sorry, I forgot at the house. Okay, that's I would say 70% correct. Who can else contribute?
And this is open source?
Yeah, Android is open source.
Yeah, so provide some open source, Linux-based.
Okay, so 70% correct, close to the answer. Who can contribute for the rest of 30%?
Looks to me like you got a lot of teamwork going on here, people making contributions, they're going to be on top of things. People are a closed world, they're isolated from what everybody else is doing.
Good.
They're no longer leading, other people are leading the way, they don't realize it.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so thank you. So in summary, what I wrote in here is a competition of contribution. And if you win in the competition of contributions, you gain the most. So my talk today is a business model which was born from open source movement, right? One of the business model is you have to win in the competition of contributions. So in this particular case, there are 4 companies, right? Then they donate their programs to enhance Android. And when Google select all of these, rather they classify all of these donated code in function A, function B, function Z, and they say, the code from Samsung is the best. So this becomes Samsung code. Samsung is also good, best. That's why this becomes the code which is provided by Samsung. So if you win in the competition of contributions, Android becomes Samsung-developed programs, which means, obviously, the terminal, which are marketed by Samsung, runs the best on Android. Do you understand this system? You don't have to occupy all of these by your code. If this function Z, if Google accepted sharp code for this particular segment, then in this particular function, most likely sharp will get the largest return. So let's assume the screen is not moving quite smoothly. And if the sharp provides the enhancement code to here, and if that code is accepted and incorporated in Android, the terminal from sharp can use that function in a best way. So this is the fundamental business models of open source movement. Now, this is really important. The reason why Linux became quite powerful is, let's pick up a supercomputer segment. In a supercomputer field, there are only 3 companies in the world which compete in this domain. One of them is Japanese Fujitsu. The other one is IBM. The third one is Cray Research Corporation, which is also American companies. And these 3 companies compete each other to put their code in the Linux where supercomputer uses. So let's assume at this moment the code which Fujitsu provided is in Linux, then Fujitsu supercomputer runs the most effectively using the current Linux. And obviously, IBM Cray do not like that. So they analyze the code which was supplied by Fujitsu, and IBM and Cray developed a better code, hoping that their code will be incorporated in the next release of Linux. But Fujitsu, even though their programs are now incorporated, unless they improve what they provided and what's in Linux now, in the next phase, their position could be wiped out by IBM or Cray. So Fujitsu have to provide better code beyond what they provided, hoping that they can maintain their position in this small segment of Linux. And if the program from IBM is accepted, then in the next release of Linux, Fujitsu's program will be kicked out, their name will be erased from the source code, and IBM's program will be incorporated. And in that version, most likely, 99%, most likely IBM's supercomputer runs the best using the Linux. So in this domain, the 3 computers are computing each other to put their program in here, right? If we look at the other end, embedded application, there are many companies which are in the business of embedded. Well known is the Monte Vista, Wind River, all of these are American companies. They compete quite heavily to put their code in here. If you look at the server or Linux server, again, the companies which are related to here compete very heavily trying to put their programs in here. And therefore, Linux is the collection of the programs or code which are result of the macro scale competition of contribution. And only good programs are selected, and accumulation of these winners programs are Linux. So from education point of view, it is important to let the student know that the open source business model is like this. And the students who graduate from Wichita State eventually will be able to participate in this kind of contribution. The other point in here is, as an IT professional, knowing only, for example, Windows or knowing only Oracle limits their choice, because in here, almost all embedded applications are running based on Linux. In here, more than 94 or 97% of supercomputers are running based on Linux. In here, more than 70% of the internet servers are running on Linux. So without knowing Linux, your choice will be quite limited. Microsoft has Windows CE for embedded application. But how many of you has Windows CE based terminal? None, right? So what's wrong with that? It's a nightmare for Microsoft. Do you know a couple months ago, Microsoft announced something new for this particular domain, Windows CE? Do you know anybody what Microsoft started?
Or about B2C or any other production?
No, for this particular market, what did Microsoft announce about Windows CE? Do you think they said, we'll quit because all applications in this domain are dominated by Linux? Or did they say something else, Microsoft? Yeah, you can Google now. They said, we will provide Windows CE for free of charge. There's no way they can compete in here based on their traditional business model, which they charge for licensing fee, right? The Linux is for free of charge. If Linux is for fee, then Microsoft can discount, right, until Linux company or community crashes. The problem for Microsoft is their business model is based on the collection of licensing fee. On the other hand, open source, everything is free. So there is no way to compete from business model point of view. So they decided to deliver Windows CE, and they are hoping to make money from something else. In here, if you hit the top 500, yeah, there are Windows-based supercomputer. But among top 500, I would say at the most 10 supercomputers which are running based on Windows. The rest is, most of them are Linux. Some of them are Unix. It's a very, very strange, open source took all over except this PC domain. For regular people, PC is their computer. And therefore, they assume Windows is the dominant operating system. But that is not the case anymore. So as I said, the business model number one is the competition of contribution. And it is sometimes called the Buzzard Method. The interesting thing is that the contribution comes without any chain of command from, let's say, Linus Tobler. Or he doesn't pay any money at all, just like a school bazaar. We will have a bazaar this coming Saturday, Sunday. Please bring something from your house. And if we generate money, will pay you 50%. The remaining 50% will be taken by Wichita State University. That's kind of bizarre, right? Very similar. As I said, in open source movement, the best contributor gets the largest return. And the contribution can be